Hey, welcome to the Sunday preview this week. And we got another great reading from St. Matthew. Same kind of ideas in the last few weeks. He's really given out to the Pharisees and the Jewish leaders for their lack of care for the people. So let's read this one from 22nd chapter. Jesus again in reply spoke to the chief priests and the elders of the people in parables, saying, "The kingdom of heaven is like a king who gave a wedding feast for his son. He dispatched his servants to summon the invited guests to the feast, but they refused to come. A second time he sent other servants, saying, 'Tell those invited, behold, I have prepared my banquet. My calves and fattened cattle are killed, and everything is ready. Come to the feast.' Some ignored the invitation and went away, one to his farm, another to his business. The rest laid hold of the servants and mistreated them and killed them. The king was enraged and sent his troops and destroyed those murderers and burned their city and those who were invited. And then he said to his servants, 'The feast is ready, but those who were invited were not worthy to come. Go out, therefore, to the main roads and invite to the feast whomever you find.' The servants went out into the streets and gathered all they found, good and bad alike, and the hall was filled with guests. When the king came in to meet his guests, he saw a man there, not dressed in a wedding garment. The king said, 'My friend, how is it you came in here without a wedding garment?' And he was reduced to silence. Then the king said to the attendants, 'Bind his hands and feet and cast him out into the darkness outside, where there will be wailing and grinding of teeth. Many are invited, but few are chosen.'" The Gospel of the Lord. Like I said, this continues a theme of Jesus railing against the leaders of Israel for not following God themselves sincerely and leading the people of God. And the parable that he uses is pretty powerful. And what it reveals in the first case is that the leaders of Israel weren't ready or really interested in the coming of the Messiah. They should have celebrated it. They should have welcomed it. After all of Jewish history was supposed to lead to this point where God would send this Messiah to his people. But they either rejected him or they just didn't have time for him. They're busy going off to their farms and their businesses. And that's a lot like us too, that, we don't really make that time for God. And we've got so many other things occupying our emotional time and our mental time that we don't really have God at the center. And then a curious thing happens in the story as it goes on, when he goes out and invites everybody else to the banquet, the bad and the good alike, right? Inviting in even the sinners into this banquet. But there's one guy there that's not in a wedding garment. And they deal with him pretty harshly, throw him out into the darkness. And I think it's a reminder to us who are inside the church that we can be complacent and even disrespectful to God and really not have that devotion and that piety and that, gratitude even to God for what he's done for us, but taking it for granted. That's what represents to me that fellow without the wedding garment, that he wasn't really focused on the king and the celebration of the king's son. And maybe some of us are that way inside the church. We're just kind of floating along and taking it for granted and telling ourselves we're one of the good people because we showed up and we're better than those other people who don't show up. But we have to make sure that Christ is really at the center of our lives and that we're living out our faith with sincerity and with depth and with joy. So I think it's a call to all of us, not just those evil Jewish leaders who neglected the flock, but also us who are in the house of God, and we're at the banquet. Do we really have gratitude and appreciation for the gift we've received?